Guys, kindly mute your microphone. Okay, got it. Okay, we're now live on Facebook. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, IFNG. Good evening, Miss Michelle. Good evening, my BFF.
Good
Ben.
evening, BFF. Hi, Miss
Yeah.
Michelle.
Good evening.
Hi, Jen. Good evening, everyone.
Okay, we're now on our reading lecture series with our Niner friends. So, BFF Den, take it away.
Hello. Okay. Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening to everyone. I am Den Solis. In behalf of 9.09er, I would like to thank IFNG for inviting us to share what we know about reading. Sige. Ayan. Before anything else, mag-share screen muna ako. Pero nalilito na naman ako. Technology.
First thing you'll do is pop our
Okay, sige. We will be sharing this portion. Alright. Sorry, dalawa.
BFF, kindly unmute po yourself. Wait lang. I'm just
Okay,
muting
there.
this.
Ayan. Thank you so much. I'll be sharing my screen now. There you go. O, diba? Hello, everyone. So again, hindi ako nag-mute yata kanina. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you to IFNG for inviting 9.09er to share with you what we know all about reading. Okay. So based on dito, what you can see on your screen, so we will be talking about IELTS reading. Specifically, we will be talking about 3 kinds of IELTS reading questions. First, yung matching headings, and then we have multiple choice, and then we have yung last natin is Gapfill. Okay? So the goal of IELTS reading, of course, is to test your understanding when it comes to written English, how well you've understood what you've read. Okay? This lesson will actually focus on the techniques that I've mentioned a while ago, and the types of questions, and we will teach you strategies. Kasi at 9.09er, we believe that for you to be able to ace your exam or to at least achieve the target PAN score that you would have, you need to learn the proper techniques, and you need to unlearn yung mga wrong strategies that you are doing. Okay? So yun. I hope that at the end of the session, you will be able to feel more confident when it comes to reading, and you will be more, you will have a better understanding, and you will be a bit more prepared when it comes to your reading as well. Okay? So, yan. So, ang dami ng intro. I'd like to know, from where are you guys coming from? Sige, you may use the chat box. You may also use, for those who are live, for those who are watching live on Facebook, what is, from which area are you coming from? Live tayo on Facebook, no? Sige. Check natin si chat box. Hello from Saudi Arabia, from Qatar. Hello. Ayan. KSA din. Mostly from KSA. So I think it's like 3 p.m. in your area. Ayan. Meron tayong same time zone. Mark Michael Laurel is from Davao City. Okay. Goody. Yan. Meron din from Riyadh, KSA. Yan. So we're actually hailing from different parts of the Philippines, and we're yung iba based dito sa Philippines na, the others are located in other parts. Ayan, may Pangasinan, Quezon City, Zamboanga. Hello to everyone. Okay. So here you go. So let me know, guys, or let me ask you the question. When it comes to your reading, yan. So are you kind of adamant or medyo hesitant ba kayo when it comes to reading? Hesitant ba kayo when it comes to reading? Yes. Si ako ay hesitant. Winzet is also a little hesitant. I do understand. Kasi coming from a former reviewee, I was also hesitant when it comes to reading because first and foremost, I do not know what type of topic I might receive, right? And also, although I am an avid reader, it's just that I'm a little overwhelmed, especially with academic kinds of materials. But then again, thank you to Niner, because Niner kept on teaching us strategies when it comes to this one. Okay. So yeah, let's continue getting to know each other. What's the most interesting topic that you've read so far or by far? What's the most interesting topic that you've read by far? Is it about health or probably about ano ba? Let's look at the chat box. Hesitant. Okay. About parenting. Okay. Maristela Ceruelo from Zoom said parenting, yung interesting for her. How about those from Facebook? What's the most interesting topic that you've read? For me, I find cookbooks interesting, and also anything that has to do with food, history of food. Yan. Kasi yan yung interest ko. Travel also. Lindell from Facebook said travel. Yes, it is interesting, no? Knowing more topics about certain locations. Ayan. And John said business, career, naman from Winzet. Yeah. So, coming from your answers, guys, this is actually proof that in terms of reading, we actually have different interests. In as much as we also have different interests in speaking. But in terms of IELTS, guys, this is something that you should try to conquer because your interests, parenting, career, travel, business, these might not be the topics that you might receive that you can receive on the actual exam itself. But then again, regardless of the topic that you will receive, you have to actually answer the test and you have to answer to get the correct answers, right? Okay, diet. Pahabol ni Andrew Lubertis, diet. Okay. Yan. Okay, so now let's move on. Okay. So in terms of the overview of the reading subtest, okay, let's do this quickly. This is actually the second subtest when it comes to IELTS, and it runs for about 60 minutes. And for the 60 minutes, you have to answer around 40 questions, okay? In the 40 questions, one correct answer gives you 1 point. Okay, regardless kung difficult man yung question or if it is an easy question, 1 point lang yan. Equal scores sila. Not unlike for writing, wherein your task 1 is just 1/3 of your total score for writing, and then yung task 2 is 2/3. So hindi siya ganon, different siya. In here also, when it comes to reading, there are differences based on the modules. If you're going to take academic, you will be receiving 3 long passages, and then the topics are a little more difficult kasi it's more related to scientific topics or sometimes more technical topics. But for general training, if you're going to take this module, so you will be receiving mga short passages. And it's a short passages, relatively easier yung topics ninyo. So sample of a reading passage is, let's say, the operating hours or the operating hours for certain amenities like swimming pools, public pools, mga ganyan, or gyms. Yan. So very simple lang for general training. So that is why, because it's easier, because the topics for general training are easier, in terms of the scores, you are, as a general training test taker, you are expected to get more correct answers if you would want to get a higher score. Okay, so in here, I have here, let's run through quickly lang this one. So general training is on the left side, and then for the academic, that's the one on the right side. Okay. Since in terms of the difficulty of the topic, we know that there is a difference between general training module and the academic training module. Unfair if you will have or if you will be required to get the same number of correct answers to get a 7, right? For example, this one. So you need to get a 7. Oops, sorry. Okay. Let's say your target score is a 7. You want to get a 7. For general training, you need around 34 to 35 correct answers. But for the same band score na 7, okay, you only need around 30 to 32 correct answers for the academic module because the topic and the passage is harder compared to the other one. So in this way, you are somehow assured that in terms of the difficulty, that is not something that IELTS is considering, but instead the comprehension is being considered. Okay, so para fair. Okay, so yun. Basically, that's how it is when it comes to IELTS. It's important also, guys. I do suggest that whether you're going to take general training or academic module, please do take note of this one, yung band score na required for you and yung number of correct answers that you need to have. Okay? Now, let's move on. Paper-based versus computer-delivered, there is actually a difference when it comes to this one, ha? Paper-based, of course, you will be given paper and a questionnaire. Pero for computer-delivered, but let's just skip this one. Pero for computer-delivered, you can just answer dun sa inyong chat box. You can just answer sa computer. So in the paper-based kind of exam, so you will be given this one. Yan. So this is your answer sheet. Careful lang na for the paper-based kind of test, make sure that you are putting your answers dito sa part wherein it says reading. Kasi the listening subtest also has the same answer sheet. The only difference is nakasulat dito is listening instead of reading. So make sure that when you're writing your answers, sa reading nyo siya sinusulat. Okay? Because these mistakes, yung mga careless mistakes na ganyan, this might cause you your band score. Relatively, may mga mistakes na ganyan. So unfortunately, yan, minsan yun yung reason why they're not getting their target score. Okay? So in both instances, you can have a scratch paper kasi for the paper-based, you can use yung questionnaires nyo to write certain notes. Pero for computer-delivered, you can just write notes kasi may feature si computer-delivered test for that one. Okay? If you would want to know anong difference sa computer-delivered or what are the features, you can just type computer-delivered IELTS test for reading, and then on YouTube, there will be a video. Okay? So there you go. So that's very easy. So itong mga things na ganito, these are the kinds of information that you actually need to know beforehand. Okay? So let's continue. All right. In continuation, we will, as I've mentioned a while ago, we will be discussing 3 kinds of reading questions. The first one is matching paragraph headings. Okay. Aminin ko na sa inyo, this is the hardest for me. Ito talaga yung pinakamahirap. As in, sa hierarchy, the hardest for me is true, false, not given. Sometimes, lang pala. They share the same spot. True, false, not given, or yes, no, not given. Tapos, sometimes, same level sila ni matching paragraph headings. More difficult talaga tong dalawang to. Most difficult, I mean. So, yun. For this type of reading questions, you are going to pick a heading from a list of choices. Okay? And yung heading na yun, you're going to match it with the paragraph from the passage. Okay? So basically, that's how. Very simple lang yung instructions, di ba? Para lang siya, matching type. Yan, as based dito, matching paragraph headings. Okay? Now, what are headings? Let's get to know. Let's get to know kung ano ba yung headings. What are headings? These are actually short sentences or sometimes phrases that summarize the information in a paragraph. So, yung keyword natin dito is summarize. Okay? Summarize information in a paragraph. Okay? And based from that, since it's a summary, it contains general ideas already. General ideas and not supporting details. Hindi supporting details. Okay? So that is why coming from this information, meron tayong certain techniques that you can use or that you can apply as well when it comes to this kind of questions. Okay? All right. So, I've mentioned a while ago, this is the hardest for me. Bakit? Bakit kaya difficult si matching headings? For you guys, how difficult it is? What is the reason why you find this test difficult? Winzet from Zoom said confusing. Confusing. Yes, it is true. It is confusing. Confusing in what way? Sige, let's understand why it's confusing. Confusing siya kasi Kimberly also said the same thing. It's confusing. Elden also said the same thing. Confusing. Why is it confusing for you guys? Why is it confusing? Ideas are like the same. Somebody from Zoom said, sabi ni ako from Zoom. Yes, ideas are the same. And yan, may similarities yung choices. Also, another thing that makes it confusing is that your answers or yung mga headings, the list of headings, they are not actually in chronological order, right? So, hindi siya in order. It doesn't necessarily mean that your answer for paragraph A, the heading is the first heading that you see among the list of choices. That's not the case. So, hindi siya chronological. Okay, what else? Another thing that makes it confusing is because some of the headings might be similar. Yun, the thing that you've mentioned, guys, similar siya. That's why it's confusing. So may certain words, there are certain nuances that for you, it might mean the same thing. Same content siya, correct? Glenn Mascareñas Caballo. Yeah, it is. Another thing, lastly, for me, another reason why it's confusing is in general, when you receive this type of question, you might be having or you might be given around 5 to 9 lists or 9 headings. And then, dun sa headings ninyo, there are instances wherein there are more headings than the paragraphs. For example, you only have, let's say, 5 paragraphs and then you have more headings. So there are instances na ganoon. So sometimes it's confusing talaga because you cannot apply elimination method for that. Okay? So yun, kaya confusing. Pinapahirap talaga nila. But then again, there are certain strategies that you can apply. So because knowing these strategies will somehow help you ease out yung hesitations niyo when it comes to answering these kinds of questions. Ayan, addition also, Nico de Lima said vague or kind of generic. Yep, it's a little, siguro just to continue on what Nico said, it's vague or generic, kind of generic because as we've mentioned a while ago, the headings, it's a general way of presenting the ideas that are contained in one paragraph. So yun. Okay? Now, in terms of strategies, let's look at the first strategy. Okay. First, you have to read and underline the keywords in each heading. Ito step by step This is a step by step. Typically, what we did, or me, I'm saying we, kasi ito ginagawa ko din before. When I was just starting to review for IELTS, I always end up reading the passage first. But that's not supposed to be the case because in an IELTS reading exam, you will be receiving around 1,500 or more na passages, na words sa mga passages na to. And you cannot actually read those words. You cannot read everything in the 60 minutes. You cannot read that and you cannot understand in the 60 minutes. So that's why you need to strategize. So what will you prioritize when it comes to your reading? Okay? Instead of focusing on your passage first, okay, go on with your keywords in the headings, in the list of headings. Underline these keywords or put marks. If you're going to take computer delivered, there's an option there to highlight that. yung color ng highlight, yellow. If you're going to take paper-based, it's okay. If you underline, it's okay. Also, if you encircle, depende lang whichever you want. Okay? Now, after that, you have to note the similarities or the differences between the headings. Okay? So now that we know that one of the reasons why it's confusing or why it's difficult, it is true. We have to acknowledge that there are indeed similarities. And in as much as there are similarities, there are also differences between the headings. So you have to take note of the similarities and the differences. So those that have similarities among, let's say, the 9 choices, you can put a mark on that. You can put a star for those na headings that have similar ideas. Those that are opposite each other, you can put, let's say, a cross or an X mark. So you can put those marks. Mga simple techniques or simple strategies lang yon when it comes to number 2, in noting the similarities and the differences. Okay? So yon. After that, okay, in identifying the notes or the similarities, okay, after you've done yung preparation work niyo for the first 2 steps, that's the time that you are going to read your first and the last sentence. Now this one, it may not necessarily be the 2 sentences, yung first sentence and yung last sentence. This may not necessarily be the only sentences that matter within the paragraph. It's just that since we've mentioned a while ago that the headings somehow contain a general idea of the paragraph, yung general idea, looking back at our lessons before, diba yung general idea, this is what we call the main topic or the main idea, which is commonly found at the beginning of the sentence or sometimes at the end of the sentence. So that's why I've included yung strategy to read yung first and yung last na sentences. Generally, if you receive an easier kind of matching headings, you will somehow be able to answer already if you read the first sentence or the last sentence. Enough na yun, it will suffice. But sometimes if you're given a much more difficult question, you will still be required to read, or at least you need to read yung mga middle sentences pa. But at least since you read the first and the last na sentence, yung middle details nun, that can somehow help you already in identifying which is the correct heading for that particular paragraph. Okay, so medyo easier na siya in that case. All right. And lastly, for this one, okay, you have to choose the appropriate heading based on, as I've mentioned, the main idea and not the specific details. Sometimes, I'm guilty ako dito before. Sometimes, I'm having wrong answers with matching headings because I'm actually focusing on the specific details and not the main idea. A while ago, we've mentioned, as we discussed what heading is, main idea lang yung pinapresent niya. General idea and not actually the details within the paragraph. So, dun lang tayo magfo-focus for that one. Okay? So, there you go. Basic 4 strategies that you need to apply for this one. Okay. Now, let's proceed at how it looks like. There you go. Okay? This is how it actually looks like. You will have this part wherein you have the list. For this case, you have how many yung list nyo dito? 1, 2, 3, 9. So you have 9. And then here, actually, I was not able to present or to paste or copy all the headings or all the passages because the space is not enough. But I think for paragraphs, for now will suffice for this case. Okay? So yan. Okay. So medyo mahaba-haba siya. It's a little long, to be exact. And then in here below, you will be answering based on this one. You will be answering number 14 to 20. So it's actually how many? 7 Diba? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions versus 9 list of headings. So kaya confusing siya because you cannot apply yung elimination method if you're going to compare lang the answers that you have, yung list of headings, the possible answers, and yung questions that you have. So it's a little confusing if yun lang yung basis ninyo. Okay? So there. What else? How about for the others? So far, in terms of the discussion of the matching headings, so far, do you have any questions, guys? Ayan, no questions. Okay, sige, let's proceed. Let's give this one a try. Let's try to answer. Yan. Okay, sige. If this is your heading, okay, based on the instruction here, let's read. Okay, it has 7 paragraphs, A to G. Okay, you just have to choose the correct heading for each paragraph from the list of headings below. And then, based on this instruction, you just have to write the correct number in the boxes. Okay. Hale from Zoom said, yung headings daw, it makes her sick. I hope not. I hope not. Sana ma-survive itong list of headings. Ayan. So basically, in here, what you're going to write is number, yung I to X. Okay. In terms of writing the answers, actually, what you can type here, although it's written here na small Roman numerals, I prefer all capital letters for reading. I prefer that for reading. As well as for listening as well. All caps. Yun. Okay. Sige. Let's try to answer this one. Let's try to answer. Ito lang. Yung 4. We will try to answer A, B, C, and D. What do you think is the heading for A? Let's do A first. Yan. What do you think is the answer for A? Among the 9. So, di ba? Are you supposed to read A immediately? What's the first step a while ago based on the strategies? Very good. Sige. Headings muna. Headings muna yung step 1 ninyo. Good job. Okay. Alright. There's a question. Okay lang po ba all caps sa computer-based? Yes, all caps yung suggestion ko for the reading and the listening as well for computer-based and paper-based. Okay, there you go. So read the headings first, and what you're going to identify here are your keywords. So keywords nyo dito, artifacts, and then, ayan, dito na lang tayo mag-identify. It's easier to underline here. Okay. So keywords mo dito, artifacts, pyramid within the pyramid itself. Okay, what else? How about for 2? What are your keywords here? Keywords dito. Okay. All right. This one, difficult, is also a keyword. There you go. Good job. Difficult task. I cannot just I cannot type this one. Okay, how about number 3? But you're correct, guys. Difficult task, those involved, you're correct. How about 3? What are your keywords? King saved his people. Very good. For number 4, important thing save. Oopsie. Yan. So number 4, a single certainty among other less definite facts. We're going here at number 4 na. Less definite facts. Okay, goody. What else? Single certainty. Yes, please include single certainty. You are correct, Glyn. Very good. Number 5. Very good. Good job. Overview of the external buildings and areas. Okay, good. Overview is also included. Good job. How about the next? Number 6. A pyramid design that others copied. Cel Romero, good job. Christine Rayos Pascua Nasino, very good. Yeah. Sai Mirasol also, good job. Continue tayo guys with this one. Yan. Pyramid design, correct. Others copied. Good job. Yan. Pyramid design, copied. Good. How about here? An idea for changing the design for burial structures. Number 7. Change design for structures. Okay, good. Yan. Sige, let's do 8. Number 8. Good job, Janet Tabuldan. Very good. Okay. Experience. Okay. This one is actually important. Despite few remains. Okay. Incredibles also included. Very good, very good. Then lastly, the answers to some unexpected questions. Yeah. Okay. Correct. Answers. So, included yung answers and then unexpected questions. Very good. So, basically, these are your keywords that you should consider when it comes to your answers. Now, let's go back. Let's answer yung isa kanina. Okay, very good. Let's answer, I think we can just do with 2. All right. So, let's go back dun sa first na to. So what is the heading for A, paragraph A? The pyramids are the most famous monuments of ancient Egypt and still hold enormous interest for people in the present day. I'm reading the first sentence and then yung last sentence. Enough na kaya yung first and last na sentence? However, there is no question that as far as Egypt is concerned, it began with one monument to one king. Tama ba? Monument to one king designed by one brilliant architect, the Step Pyramid of Djoser at Saqqara. O, di ba? Dalawa lang yung binasa ko, guys. I read only 2. What do you think is the correct answer? If not enough pa, you can read on the other things. Some said yung answers for the others. You can type your answers for paragraph A. Okay, most of you said 6. So yung 6 a while ago, we've identified that 6 is a pyramid design that others copied. Okay, so I understand, yeah. I understand that yung confusion lies already here. So the first example, there's already a confusion because most of you are saying that the answer is 6, a pyramid design that others copied, because you're actually looking at, ito, wait lang, I'm looking at this one. Also built pyramids, right? You're looking at this one? Chinese Mayan also built pyramids. Are you referring to this detail? Yung underlined portion. Was this your basis, yung Chinese and Mayan built? Yan. I think you're also referring to that one. But apart from that, yes, Verhill Clark is correct. It's kind of distracting you. A while ago, we've mentioned that in terms of list of headings, you are going to actually look at the general meaning or the general idea of the body paragraph, this paragraph, yung A na paragraph, and you're not going to consider the details, not the details. Okay? So, others are saying 3. Bakit 3? Why 3? A king who saved his people. Okay, a while ago, dun sa king who saved his people na portion, we've identified that a keyword is king, saved, and then people. From this body paragraph, from the paragraph A sa passage, was there ever a mention of the king? And I think, was there ever a mention of save na synonym? Because here in reading, it's actually a little confusing because most of the instances here, you're not going to find your keywords exactly written in the passage. But instead, what you're going to find is a paraphrase or is either a paraphrased version of your keyword or synonym version na siya for this one. Okay? So yun, sige. So this one is not correct. 3 is not correct. For A, what else? Pyramid design that is copied. No, that's giving you details but not actually giving you the correct heading. Yung general view, it's not actually giving you the general view. Okay. Somebody got the correct answer already from Zoom. And Yashmin Adyong of Facebook, you already got the correct answer. Thank you so much. For yung answer natin dito, a single certainty among less.
Ang galing ko!
Ay, ang galing-galing. Oo, wait lang. Naka-unmute. Please, reminder, ayan, i-unmute natin. Ay, sorry, i-mute natin, guys, ha. Okay, kasi nadidistract ako. Okay, alright. Sige, correct kayo dyan, guys. For those who said that the answer here is 4, you are correct. Ayan, 4. Bakit? Why 4? Why 4? Okay, 4 siya kasi, yan, what is something that that you considered as your keyword here? 4 is a single certainty among other less definite facts. So looking into your body or yung paragraph A ninyo here, okay, first sentence is talking about, very good, ayun. It's not actually in the first sentence, but it is actually found in the last sentence. Yung last sentence which reads, however, there is no question that. So yung part na yon, no question. So if you're not asking any question at all, so you're trying to present something, let's say a view or a fact maybe, right? So as far as Egypt is concerned, it began with one monument to one king designed by one brilliant architect. So yun. There is no question that. Very good. Kasi yung sentence, this part, among other less definite facts. So there is no question that. So yun, yung closely related to that. For A, but for paragraph A. Thank you so much. Sino yung magaling na yun? Yan, si Kay. Kay from Zoom, and then Bandong, Myrem, who else? Juby Ann also is good. Nakokolek. Aside from getting also the correct answer, thank you guys for sharing why or which part of the passage you got the correct answer from. So yung rationale. Thank you for sharing that one. Okay, next proceed tayo. Which one do you like? B or C? Okay, galing, galing. Yup, magaling talaga kayo guys. You know this already. You guys all know this already. Sige, B na lang tayo. B. Djoser was the first king of the third dynasty of Egypt and the first to build in stone. Prior to Djoser's reign, tombs were rectangular monuments made of dried clay, brick, which covered underground passages where the deceased person was buried. Okay, I was reading the first two. Basahin natin yung last. Okay, Djoser is thought to have reigned for 19 years, but some historians and scholars attribute a much longer time for his rule. Owing to the number and size of the monuments he built. What's the answer for paragraph B? What's the answer for B? Okay. Yan. VII, Rodelyn, and who else? Somebody from Irish, Nicole de la Cruz. Divina de, you guys are correct. 7 is correct. This one, your answer for B is an idea for changing the design of burial structures. Kasi, what is your takeaway? What was your clue? So basically, from your keywords, meron kayong keywords from the headings, ha? Changing the design of burial structures. Okay? Yes. Very good. Tombs is a keyword. Tombs here in this part. Asan na yan? Tombs. Pero, for me, a better word that you use, prior. Ito, yung prior na yan. Yun. So, prior. What else? Okay. Alright. There you go. Tombs, very good. Burial structure, also correct. Good job, guys. Yeah. So, more or less, 2 examples or 3, I think, are enough for now para dito sa side na to for matching headings. Basically, you already know how hard it is. Coming from the idea lang that there are similarities and differences, and also moving forward to the idea that sometimes the details found within the body, within the paragraphs, are a little overwhelming. So that's why it's confusing you. So instead of just giving the general idea, you're actually presenting details already. Okay? So, careful lang. General idea lang dapat. Okay? Those who said 7, correct. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Okay? So, let's move along, guys. Move on na tayo. Okay. So, that was the first type, matching headings. Okay? So, basically, unahin, again, this one, headings first, keywords, and then after that, read the first, and then the last na sentence here. Tapos, coming from that, you identify, you compare na, identify the answers that you've had. Okay? So, yun, that's it. And then, let's move on now to the second part. Another type of question is gap fill. So, in gap fill, basically, for gap fill types of questions, there are subcategories. Next, subcategories. Yeah, there are subcategories or different types of Gapfill questions. Okay, first off, we have summary completion. And for a summary completion kind of question, meron pang subcategory. Basically dito, we have two categories for this one. First, you might be given Gapfill questions na summary completion wherein you're given a clue or a choice or a word bank, yung parang list a while ago. And then the other one, you will not be given any clue at all. There's no word count also or word bank as well. Okay? In terms of yung 1.1, this one wherein you're given your clues, some say that this is easier compared dun sa you have no clue. But as for me, it's a little complicated because sometimes if you are given a clue, or if you're given set of words, sometimes your tendency is to find the exact word that is given in that list or in that word bank. While truth of the matter is, IELTS is somehow, as I've mentioned a while ago, making it a little more challenging for you because you cannot find the exact words. Very rarely will you be able to find the exact word written dun sa choices ninyo. Most likely, it will either be paraphrased or synonyms will be used. So, yun siya. Now, as for this one, the second type of summary completion wherein there are no clues that are given, usually naman, the characteristic of that is you will be given a word count or a word limit. So there are instructions there that says no more than 3 words or a number or 1 word only o kaya you will be given no more than 2 words. Yan, basta there is a word count which the word count you have to stay within that limit because otherwise even if your answer is correct but if your word count is exceeding the limit, for example, the instruction says only 1 word, and then your answer is a 2-word answer. Okay? So, wrong yung answer niyo. Sayang yung points. Okay? So, there you go. Next, we have sentence completion. Okay? And apart from the sentence completion, relatively for the sentence completion, sometimes this appears in a format wherein if dun sa summary completion, it's like a paragraph format. Summary nga siya eh. So parang it's like summarizing the whole, let's say, 2 or 3 paragraphs within the passage. Dun sa sentence completion, your sentences are not somehow related with each other. Okay, so sentence completion yan. It's either you will be given choices also for sentence completion or sometimes yung choices nyo dito are phrases or words only. So it depends. Okay, another kind of Gapfill question is of course you have your flowchart completion. Have you encountered flowchart completion questions already? Sino yung naka-encounter na ng flowcharts sa reading? For those who are answering mock exams already. Winzet. Yeah, GC encountered the same also. Flowcharts. Flowcharts. Sai Mirasol also encountered the same thing. Yeah. Did you find it difficult? Yung flowcharts? It's hard. Actually, the difficulty of flowcharts depending on the content or depending on the passage where the flowchart is based. Sometimes, yung flowchart nyo, very simple lang. It's like a process, ganyan. Or sometimes, it's actually yung parang decision factor, ganyan. So, depende. It actually depends. If you're given a more technical kind of flowchart, dito, you have to actually read through the paragraph. Pero, it doesn't necessarily mean na you have to read talagang word per word na ganyan and then you have to repeat if you don't understand. So, that's not really the case. We still have strategies for this one. Okay? Of course, aside from that, yung mga less common types of Gapfill questions naman, we have yung table completion. Also, we have yung labeling the diagram. So, much like in your listening, diba? May listening kind of test then wherein you're going to complete a table and then you're going to have to label a certain diagram or let's say a certain machine or a certain equipment, ganyan, based on let's say a process that was discussed in your passage. So it actually depends. So still, your basis is the passage pa din. Okay? Now, for the gap fill kinds of questions, what you have to remember, closely remember, is that in terms of these questions, guys, yan, general reminders natin for gap fill questions are, you have to take note that in terms of word count, or in terms of yung numbers, it can be written either using figures, as in this one, the number 8, okay, numerical figure, or it can be written in words like this, 8, you spell it out, okay? But for example, you're using a number, numerical figure, diba? Or hyphenated words like 2-year, or let's say words like open-minded. Ay, open-minded ka ba? Ayun, yung mga ganun. Okay, that is counted as one word. Okay? And then, it's important for you guys to take note of this because as I've mentioned a while ago, sometimes the instructions, yung answers nyo, these are correct. Pero yung meeting the instructions or at least working with the instructions, yun yung mali. So, but in IELTS kasi, it's very important for you to follow instructions. Okay, docs? Yan. So, dito. Another thing that you have to remember, general rule when it comes to IELTS reading, you do not have to use contractions. What are contractions? Give me samples of contractions. Ano yung examples natin of contractions? Yan. Sige. Good. Very good, GC. True, true, true. Yan yung mga gonna, would, I've. Yan. Haven't, hasn't, it's. Yan. So, yung merong apostrophe. Okay? So, avoid using these words. Okay? So, do not use contractions. When it comes to your prepositions and your articles, you may or may not use them. Kasi, ayan, prepositions and articles, optional naman sila. Okay? And then as I've mentioned a while ago, use capital letters also. Okay? Para clear din yung answer nyo. Okay. Now, let's move on to the strategies of the gap fill. Okay? In terms of gap fill, the first thing that you have to do is you have to read the instructions. Read instructions and identify yung word limit. Yan, word limit. Kasi you will be working on the word limit. Yung answers nyo will be based on that as well. Okay? It's either, let's say, you're given an instruction that you have to answer with one word only, and then the answer that you found in the passage is 2-word answer. So you just have to make sure that you have to choose which is the correct answer or what is the best 1-word answer for that question. Okay? And then next, you have to read and you have to read and understand yung summary if you're given, let's say, yung summary completion or yung sentence completion. And again, going back, keywords pa din. Understand your keywords. Underline your keywords. Take note of them, yung mga keywords na yan. Also, another strategy that you can use is you have to identify the grammar. And you have to analyze the words given in the word bank or the list, if ever yun yung kind of reading test that is given to you, yung may word list. Okay? And analyze and understand that. Okay, what do I mean by identifying yung grammar? So later on, I will be showing you examples. For this part, yung number 3, you have to somehow predict in a way. Predict if you're going to have an answer that is a noun. Predict also if it's an answer na adjective, if it's a verb. So yun, based on the grammar structures. Also, you can use, let's say, yung mga collocations. For example, merong term after the blank or after the gap na better. So yun, think about certain collocations that can be used with better. So yung mga ganon, grammar is something that you can consider also. All right? And then, yung step, ito, from here up until this one, yan, step 1 up until step 3, basically, that's your preparation work. Essential yan because although it may seem daunting and it may seem na parang 3 steps na agad yung gagawin nyo, trust me guys, as you go along in your practice and in your review, it will just come naturally sa inyo and it will come easy for you, and it will make your work it will make your work less complicated if you're going to do the 3 preparation steps. Okay, because if you have already prepared yung word answers mo, if you have predicted already, if you have analyzed the choices, the word choices and the word list, the word bank that was given to you, then it's easier for you to scan the page already or scan the passage already kasi you know already na, this might be a synonym for the answer that I am looking for. So yun, okay? So scan the passage. And then after that, you have to answer the question already. Okay, ang dami nating mga, yes, correct. Thank you so much yung mga answers pala ng contractions. Correct. So we'll have another exercise for gap fill. Basically for gap fill, we will do mga 2 kinds. Very easy lang naman ito. Yan, si gap fill, this one. I will show you an easy kind of gap fill. So this one is a summary completion kind of gap fill, diba? So 7 to 10, you only need to have or to answer 4 numbers. Yan, so 4 questions lang yan, 4 blanks. Fill in the blanks lang siya. Plus, easy in a way because you have a list already dito. So as I mentioned a while ago, you have to read the whole thing, the whole summary, this one. Read it, and after you've read it, more or less, you can identify the keywords and you have to predict. So yun na, you have to predict also based on the grammar, what kind of word would be the answer for this one. So objects age in accordance with the principles of blank and blank. End of blank. Okay, so this one, what do you think should be the answer for this one? Is it a noun? Is it a verb? Is it an adjective in terms of grammar? Not yet the correct answer, but in terms of grammar. For this one. Very good. You guys are correct. So actually the answer for this one and then this one are all nouns. Good job. Verhil, Jamsen, She, Galaxy S20. Yan, correct. Good job. Galing. Yes. All right. So all nouns, yung first 2. And then let's proceed. Through mutations, organisms can blank better to the environment. So dun sa sentence nyon, for that sentence, what do you think should be the answer? Blank better. So should it be a noun? Should it be an adjective? Kasi better, this is already the, what is better? What form of this? What form of word is this? Better is actually your adverb, right? So mga good, better, best. So yung answer mo dito, if this is an adverb, more likely your answer here should be a verb. Okay? A verb that modifies yung answer mo dito. Because yung better, it's a modifier. Yung mga good, better, best, yan. So more, most, much, yung mga ganyan. It's somehow describing or modifying yung mga verbs. Okay, next. Lastly, blank would pose a serious problem for the theory of evolution. Okay. Ano kaya? Something would pose a serious problem for the theory of evolution. If it's something, maybe it's a pronoun, maybe it's a noun, right? So based on this one, since this type is something that you're given an option or a list of words already, and you have somehow more likely predicted the type of grammar, type of part of speech, 'di ba, that you're going to use, 'di ba? Kahit ito pa lang, answer me guys, can you answer this even without reading the passage? Or do you need to read the passage? Ang haba ng passage natin, no? 2 paragraphs. Do you still need to read the passage or no need na? This is our passage. Yan. Do you still need to read 2 paragraphs to answer 4 blanks, 4 gaps? Max, sana all. Sana all. No need. Yeah, no need na, right? Kasi based on the choices that you have here, yes. Sana all. So let's pray for this kind of test na no need to read the passage kasi nag-predict ka na, you have choices, and actually very ano na siya, very easy to identify. So sige, no need na siya. Please type in, type yung answer according to from this, and this. In order yung answer nyo. In order. Okay, very good, Verhil. Christine Rayos Pascua Nasino, KGC. Very good. Okay, the answer dito sa first 2 is physical chemistry and thermodynamics, whichever pwedeng ano siya, baliktad yung order niya, whichever is in order. Okay. And then the third blank is organisms can adapt better to the environment. And lastly, of course, very good also, Sel, Gian, Tabi. Yan, immortality would pose a serious problem for the theory of evolution. Another important thing that you can apply here also, especially for this kind of test, kasi you know that you have 4 blanks, and in here, dun sa list of choices nyo, you have how many options? 4, di ba? So what you can do here is you can apply elimination method. So if, for example, you've answered physical chemistry and thermodynamics already, so yung adapt and immortality na lang yung choices nyo for the last 2 questions. So it's easier that way. But then sometimes there are instances wherein dun sa instructions nyo, there is an instruction that says NB, letter N and letter B. It means nota bene. Okay, it's meaning it's the Italian. Yeah, that's the Italian of note well or take note, something like that. You have to observe carefully. So it means may mga instruction sometimes that says that you may use the list or the choices more than once. Sometimes yung dun sa matching headings, there are also instructions na you may use the headings more than once. So, yun lang. Careful lang kayo doon. Pero if there's no instruction na you may use the words more than once, okay kayo for the elimination method. Pak na pak si elimination method. Okay? So, there. Alright. Next, let's proceed to, yan, X na yan. Ayan. Ito na tayo. Flowchart. I gave an example of flowchart dito because as you've mentioned, guys, some of you are having a hard time with flowchart types of questions, diba? So especially for this one, in terms of the flowchart, so there's a process that is typically discussed in the passage. So what you just have to remember in the flowchart, may skills that are needed. So specific skills that are needed are, of course, you have to learn how to scan specific information from the passage. Okay? Also, aside from scanning, learn also how to skim for the general meaning. So, ano siya, combined. There are instances that you need to identify specific information. There are instances naman na general meaning or general information yung asked of you. Okay? Also, as I kept on mentioning a while ago, 'di ba? Understand paraphrasing also, and yung synonyms nyo very important. So here in reading, it's important that you have good lexical resource. So, you have to bank on a good lexical resource na for you. So, yung mga word bank ninyo, just continue on building that up and expose yourselves to more technical, especially yung mga academic test takers, yung mga technical kinds of readings. Kasi as you expose themselves to these kinds of readings, yung mga technical words before sa inyo, they come as very easy peasy na because you're kind of encountering them more and more. Okay? So, what's an example of a technical term? Ito, example yan. How a prototype caloric restriction mimetic works. O, di ba? Very technical siya. Caloric restriction pa. So, merong ATP, adenosine triphosphate. So, very, technical in a sense, but I do understand that you still have the chance to actually experience and actually answer this correctly. Yan. So, coming from this one, we are going to answer this part. Okay? 3 questions lang siya. Okay? 3 questions lang siya, guys. Questions 1 to 3. And again, read the instructions. Laging sasabihin, I will keep on mentioning and mentioning. Read the instructions because in here, you will take note no more than 2 words. Okay? Meaning to say, yung blank dito, and then the answer here, no more than 2 words. Okay? So, yun. Important yan. Alright, there you go. And then, please take a screenshot of this one. Take a screenshot para you can answer the 3. Ayan, and then this one also. Take a screenshot. Sorry, I'm looking at this side. Okay. What else? Ayan, okay na po. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pak! Okay, balik na tayo sa ating passage. Okay, this is the passage. I'll be giving you around, Carry, 2 minutes. 2 minutes to answer that. Okay, sige. 2 minutes muna. Parang mahaba pala yung 2 minutes. 1 minute lang. 1 minute lang. Hindi, sige, 2 minutes na nga. Okay, if you're ready. Ay, sorry guys. Finish na kayo. Excited. Okay na? So I think you're done. Can you guys share your answer for number 1? Okay, so number 1. Less blank is processed. Less blank is processed. Very good, Sai, Mirasol, Rosales. Very good. Okay, what was your clue? Why did you know that the answer was glucose? Lori Negrana is also correct. Same as for Matt Atienza and Matt Atienza, yeah. Christine Nasino. Si Christine laging correct answer. Palakpakan. Okay. Yan, Rizali also is correct. Less glucose. Okay. All right. Actually, coming from this one, so looking at that, why did we know that less glucose is the answer? Kasi when you look at your second paragraph, limiting, okay, meron ka ditong glucose from food, limiting food intake. Ayan, so glucose yung specific na answer here. Yan. So, actually, in terms of the steps, yung food nyo will actually give you glucose, diba, to generate ATP. So, hindi siya food na, sorry. The answer is not food, but instead, it's supposed to be glucose instead. Okay? So, your number 2, what's the answer? Very good. Free radicals. Okay, where did you find free radicals? How did you know that it's free radicals? Oopsie, sorry. How did you know na free radicals? Theory 1, K cells less damaged by disease because fewer free radicals are emitted. Yeah, actually it's found here in this portion. One possibility relates to the ATP. Ayan. One possibility relates to the ATP making machinery's emission of free radicals. Okay? Tapos, looking at the next sentence, reduced operation of the machinery should limit their production. There is referring to the free radicals. Ayun. Okay, good, good, good. Next, yung number 3, last number natin, guys. What is your answer for number 3? How about the rest? Very good. Those from Facebook who gave the rationale for this one, good job, guys. One possibility. Yan. Okay. How about the last one? Number 3. Theory number 2, cells focus on blank because food is in short supply. Cells focus on what? Okay, a little confusing tong part na to because in here the actual answer is preservation. Preservation. Ako, correct ka. Ayan. Irish de la Cruz, you're also correct from Facebook. Juby, yan. Juby also correct answer parate. Ayan. Sige, good job. The answer is preservation. Where did we get that one? Kasi yung portion na, ayan, this one, ito, wait lang emphasizes preservation. The word emphasize is somehow related to focusing. The cells focus on preservation because food is in short supply. Okay? There you go. So yun. A little confusing pa rin, ano? But anyway, good job. You're somehow getting the hang of some of the answers already. So konti na lang. Okay, next. Let's move on to yung ating multiple choice. So, okay na tayo. I will not be discussing the others kasi it will be a very long discussion of the Gapfill. But at least yung mga harder ones for the Gapfill, you're able to have an example already. So, yun. Less common yung table pala, by the way, guys. So, less common si table. Okay, next. Okay, ito na yung multiple choice. Some people say that multiple choice is easy. For some naman, multiple choice, is still confusing for them. I don't know. For me, multiple choice depends on the content or depends on the passage that was given. But basically, in terms of the multiple choice, there are also proper strategies in how you're going to answer multiple choice types of questions. So strategies begin with, of course, reading the questions carefully. Sisimulan parate with the questions. Read the questions carefully so that you know what to look for in the passage. Okay? And next, you have to skim the text to get the general meaning. Okay, general meaning muna. So it's like you're going to deduct. The deduction method tayo. General meaning, and then you highlight the keywords in the question. Okay? And think about any synonyms that might appear in the text. So, ganun pa rin. Lumalabas pa rin si synonyms, guys. Synonyms or maybe paraphrased versions of your keywords. Okay? After that, so the next step would be you actually need to read the part of the text very carefully, and you have to think about the difference when it comes to meanings. Much like in your matching headings, dito rin sa multiple choice, sometimes there are options wherein there's a very thin line between the difference of one choice versus another. So that's why what you have to present is the best option or the best choice. Okay? Next, you have to think about not only which options are correct, pero you also have to think how the other options are wrong. So it also, in a way, yung part na thinking about how the other options are wrong, basically, this is what we call the elimination strategy. Because in a multiple choice, generally, sa multiple choice, you'll only be asked to give one answer. One answer lang naman. But again, there are instances wherein you'll be asked to give more than one answer. So, pag more than one answer, ito ay medyo a little complicated. Okay? So, a little complicated, although yung elimination method can still be applied. It can still be applied. Okay? Yan. Alright. Tapos, for this one, you have to think about not only, lastly, you have to go back and read the question again and pick your final choice. So, step-by-step process siya. So, you have first questions muna, and then, yan, questions, keywords, na yan. Tapos, skimming, you have to apply skimming properly. Yan, identification of the general idea. Tapos, pa-deduce ka ng pa-deduce ng pa-deduce. For multiple choice type of questions, you don't just need to look at the questions themselves, but the choices also. So, tatlo yung titingnan nyo dito. Questions, the answers, the possible answers na meron, okay? Whether it be 4 possible answers or 5 5 choices that are given to you, you have to actually weigh things. Is this correct? Is this wrong? What makes this correct? What makes this wrong? How can I eliminate this? Yung mga ganon. You have to actually think about those instances. Okay? Now, in identifying if an answer is correct or an answer is wrong, you have to make sure that you are also going to take note of certain words, phrases, and modifiers. So, ano yung mga modifiers na meron tayo? Okay, ito, I've listed a few. Ito yung mga words that you have to watch out, ha? Watch out for words like mainly, all, yung words na sometimes, some, often, usually, occasionally. Watch out for yung mga however. Watch out for but also. Always, never, only. Yan. So, watch out for these words both in the choices and dun sa passage. Because sometimes, you may think that an answer is already correct, pero when it comes to the passage, hindi pala siya correct because there are words like however, but, may mga ganon. So, it somehow limits or it somehow makes your answer wrong. Okay? So, merong changes, may changes that you have to consider as well. So, sa multiple choices. Now, in terms of multiple choice kinds of questions, do you think na this is easy for you or difficult pa rin? Easy pa or difficult? Si multiple choice questions. For most, I think it's a little difficult for most. Depende. Depending on the passage again. Depending on the passage. So for this one. But basically, actually that's the rule or that's the strategy that we are following. Step by step process talaga siya mostly. So if I'm going to go back on the basic structures and the basic strategies that I've mentioned a while ago, so trust your instinct when it comes to the directions. Follow directions. Okay, read directions. Focus on the word count or the word limit that your answer should be. What else? Read on certain keywords that might be essential. Build your vocabulary so that you will not only focus on your keywords, but you can also look at the phrases, the words that are within certain sentences or certain paragraphs para you can somehow understand that, this is not my keyword, but this means the same thing as my keyword. So, it's easier for you to do that. Basically kasi, when it comes to reading, it's not, your comprehension actually relies on your vocabulary as well. So, kaya talagang you need to focus on building and strengthening your vocabulary. So, yun. There are some instances, I remember, back when I was still reviewing, yung mga multiple choice questions, if not yung matching headings, sometimes multiple choice questions are the questions that I have more wrong answers. Kasi nga, it's difficult for me to identify what is the best answer. Sometimes, I feel as if A is the correct answer, while in fact, although A is correct, D is the best. So, may mga ganun. So, identify the best correct answer for the question that was given to you. So, you have to really think about these kinds of question. Okay. What else? So basically, I don't have a sample of I was looking for a sample of multiple choice. Pero kasi sa multiple choice, you have to actually read. And the passages for multiple choice, medyo mahaba-haba si multiple choice types of questions. But relatively, at least you now have the basic strategies for reading. So this time, I will actually just allow you guys to ask questions related to reading para we have more time for question and answer. Related to reading na, ano ba yung diniscuss natin? This one, questions. Questions for ito na lang nga. Questions for matching headings, multiple choice, and for Gapfill types of questions. So 3 types lang naman yung diniscuss natin today. Reading kasi is medyo malaman si reading in a sense. That's why we decided to do this na group. That's why we decided to group the types of questions. Para you'll get a better understanding of the approach and the techniques necessary for each type of question that you might have. Okay, sige. So, do you have any questions so far about matching headings or multiple choice questions or gap fill kinds of questions? Yeah. Any questions, clarifications? Yeah. Anyone, you just type your questions, guys. Any questions? So far, wala pang nagta-type. Okay, thank you for asking the question, Verhill Clark. How many minutes per selection is recommended? Actually, in terms of the word count, if you're just going to base on the passages, the number of passages, since for academic, you will be given around, you will be given 3, hindi pala around, you will be given 3 passages for academic and around 5 to 6 short passages for general training. You can just divide yung number. Pwedeng, some recommend na around 20 minutes per section or per passage for academic. It's just that there are instances wherein, based on experience also, yung passage 1 is easier than your passage 2, and then the last passage is the hardest. So sometimes ganun. For me, what I do is, I spend the least amount of time dun sa easiest passage. So let's say 15 minutes lang for passage 1 because that's the easiest. And if I see that passage 2 is, parang passage 2 is next in terms of level of difficulty, I spend around 20 minutes for that one. And yung extra minutes that I saved from answering passage 1, so extra 5 minutes siya, instead of spending just 20 minutes for passage 3, I spend around 25 minutes for passage 3. Kasi for me, I find that harder. So, there's actually no amount of time that is recommended. Pero, what I can tell you is, do not spend longer period for a question that is difficult for you to answer. Do not dwell. Move on kayo, guys. Again, do not dwell on this because there is only how many points per answer again? Per correct answer? Sa reading? How many points per correct answer? Do you receive double points for passage 3 or 1 each lang? 1 each, right? So you only receive 1 point each. So whether the question is difficult or the question is easy, you only receive the same amount of points for that one. So 1 point lang siya. So why spend longer time in a difficult question? Why spend, let's say, 7 minutes in one number, wherein in that 7 minutes, you can answer 3 questions in that same amount of time. So yung 3 questions na yun, na 3 correct answers for easy questions, diba? That's something that you can actually work on. Okay, so that's something that can be to your advantage as well. So So yun, do not dwell on the time. Okay? But also, in terms of the time, if I will just go back, as much as possible for you, you have to find the proper technique. Some people, they're doing the easy questions first and then they're skipping the hard questions. It works for them. I tried that once, it worked for me. And then sometimes I'm also trying na I'm answering, I'm kind of skimming the questions. This one is hard for me, I skip that. This one is easy for me, I skip that. So it's easy because it did not actually say, there's no instruction in your IELTS test that says you have to answer the questions chronologically. There's no instruction na ganon. So you can answer yung passage 3 if you find the passage 3 as the easiest type of questions. And then you can answer passage 1 last if you find it difficult. Because again, as I've mentioned, sometimes your understanding or your comprehension of what you've been reading or what you're reading is dependent on your interest. So sometimes topics that are much more technical might be easier for you since that is your interest. It depends, di ba? While for some people, more technical topics, yung mga flowchart, completion questions might be easier or might be harder for one person because the passage is difficult for them. They're not used to reading more technical passages. So, yun. Okay? And then what else? Rizali Lape. Matching headings, very difficult to choose. Which is the correct answer? Yes, as I've mentioned, matching headings, difficult in terms of choosing which is the correct answer. But what you need to do or what you need to focus on when it comes to matching headings is that you have to focus on the general details of what the heading is presenting and not actually the details. Typically, in terms of the details, these are found within the paragraphs. Probably, let's say, in a paragraph that was given to you, let's say, where was that? Let's give an example for the headings. Yeah, so ganito. For this heading, yeah, you have how many sentences? Around 4 to 5 sentences per paragraph. So since the matching heading is somehow presenting a general idea of the paragraph, you can just focus on certain sentences that might contain main ideas of the paragraph. And typically, your main ideas or your topic sentences are found in the beginning or at the beginning of the paragraph or sometimes at the end. Generally, yung first sentence and last na sentence. For easy questions, it can suffice. You just read the first sentence and then the last sentence. But for more difficult questions, you might be required to read middle sentences. But as you read the middle sentences, do not mistake the details as part of your headings. So yun, just like a while ago. Okay, so we've mistaken the details as the headings. So that should not be the case. So you thought, I think this one, no, yung paragraph A, you thought that the answer for this one was, where was that? The answer for this one was number 6. Yeah, because you answered or you've considered details found in the middle sentence, this one. But instead, the answer, you can find it here in the last sentence. Yeah, okay. So yun, careful on these kinds of sentences. So first and last na sentence. Yun yung suggestion coming from me. Yun. But what I am teaching you guys when it comes to this is what we teach at Niner plus combination also of my personal strategies as well. So yung mga first and last na sentences, typically that's what worked for me when it comes to yung mga list of headings as well. Because sometimes also my tendency is, especially for list of headings or paragraphs, let's say for list of headings like this, you should focus only on one paragraph, right? For you to identify which is the correct answer among the list of headings here. Sometimes my tendency is, when I was just starting, in my review, I read the whole paragraph. And because I do not understand, I read again the whole paragraph. So sometimes it takes me around, it takes me to read the paragraph 3 times, the entire paragraph. Reading the entire paragraph for 3 times is like 2 to 3 minutes. It consumes 2 to 3 minutes of my time. And sometimes I'm still pausing and thinking, what's the answer? And the 2 to 3 minutes that it takes me to read the paragraph 3 times is different from the time it takes me to choose the answer from the list of headings that I have here. So it's really a very, very long process if you do not know the strategy. So that's why I came to an understanding that I think since the type of headings listed here are only presenting main ideas or generalizations, where can I find the generalizations? Most likely they are found in the first sentence and in the last sentence. So that's, I think, the only focus that I did. So if I still cannot find the answer from the first and the last na sentence, that's the time that I try to read or scan the other words in the sentence, more likely. Okay? Rizali Lape, again, asked the question, can you give us a sample reading questions and guide answers, please? Or is there any website or link where I can practice reading exams? Okay. Practice of reading exams, I can give you this one. I'll share this link with you. This is actually a website that you can, a website where you can practice your reading. So you can create an account here on this website. IELTSonlinetests.com. There you go. You can practice reading and writing as well as listening also for that one. This will be very helpful, especially for those who will be taking computer delivered test, because the actual interface that you see here is the same interface that you will see when you take the exam for computer delivered test. Ang dali-dali na niya. So it's good to practice here because more or less, since you're already exposed to the interface, it's easier for you to navigate already in the interface come exam day because you're already exposed to the features that you can find in the exam. So yun. Okay, what else? All right. Basically, that is the end of, if there are any questions, may pahabol pang questions?
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
I'm back.
Hello.
Any questions,
BFF?
guys? To my BFF?
Hey.
Any questions? It's your time to shine, guys. Don't be shy.
Yeah, time
Wow.
to shine.
It's been a while.
It
Diba?
is indeed.
How are you, BFF?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm doing well. It's a little, ano ba? It's a little confusing yung topic today and everything that is happening aside from work. But we have to move on, di ba? We have to go on with our lives. Keep on dreaming, keep on achieving the dreams, doing what is necessary, like this, reviewing, learning. So actually, I honor those who are attending this class.
Yes. We always find the silver lining of every difficulties.
True. It's actually,
Yeah.
it depends on the perspective that we have. So probably if you're having a hard time, I think a little change on perspective might help you guys.
Truly. Okay, is there any questions, guys, before we call it a night? How about you, Miss Michelle? Miss Michelle, you.
Yes.
Are you
Hi.
Annie? How are you, Miss Michelle?
Hello. Back. Hi again, Miss Den.
Hello, Miss Michelle. Welcome back.
Do you have any questions to Miss Den, to my BFF, Miss Michelle?
Yes, questions about reading,
About life.
life,
Yung about
counseling
the
na pala to,
reading,
no?
that's my challenge also, Miss Den, um yung headings talaga. And
Yes.
during my exam, actually the first passage yun yung difficult eh. I spend a lot of
Yeah.
time there. And then when I look at the remaining minutes, then that's the time I leave that portion first and then go back to it once
Mm-mm.
I'm done with the rest of the questions.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Well, at least for that case, it actually depends, as I've mentioned. Whatever works for you, whatever strategy or style works for you, you can do it. I'm not imposing that my style or my strategy will work for everyone. There's no one size fits all when it comes to tests, right? So kung saan kayo mas comfortable and kung anong style yung mas gusto niyo na or anong approach, then you can also do it. It's just that yun nga, the strategies, you have to try each strategy so that you will identify, this is the best strategy that will work for me also. And since you've mentioned, Miss Michelle, that you looked at the time, so very essential, guys, when you are preparing for your exam, since we know that this is time-bound exam, so we are working, we have to answer around 40 questions in just 60 minutes. Make sure that when you are doing your mock tests, make sure na timer din kayo. 60 minutes din siya. Kasi, naman, sometimes it's difficult to implement yung honesty system sa selves natin, di ba? When you're not yet finished, hindi pa, sasagot ka pa. So, dapat hindi. Kasi dapat you are trying to, simulate already what is happening or what will happen dun sa exam mo. Wala na dapat yung, hindi, kaya ko pa sagutan to. Habol pa, last 5 minutes. Walang ganon. Sa exam, magko-close siya pag computer delivered, darken or magpapass your papers ka na pag paper-based test. So, walang ganun-ganun. Kaya kailangan very strict kayo when it comes to time sa sarili ninyo. One tip pala that I can share, I forgot to mention a while ago, either in writing or in reading, since naka-timer siya na parang countdown timer, I am trying to be more conscious when it comes to yung time. Parang dapat, meron akong parang dapat pag 40 minutes na lang, dapat nasa passage 2 na ako. Dapat pag 20 minutes na lang yung natitira or 25 minutes na lang yung natitira, I should be answering passage 3 na. But of course, there are instances that I'm skipping other numbers, di ba? So when you skip other numbers, make sure that you also go back to these numbers. So yun lang. Yun lang din. Very essential yung nabanggit mo. Thank you for mentioning about yung time.
Yes.
So, kasi number one na kalaban, either for reading or for writing, yung time element talaga. So yun yung parang
Time talagang kasagutan sa lahat.
Time it is. Truth.
Diba? My last question from Rizali, BFF.
Ayan.
Can we chat with you if we have some queries? We have a messenger.
Oh yes, I do have a messenger account. The one that I'm,
You nag-post? There, nag-post ka ng IELTS online tests.
Yes, yun. Nag-post ako ng IELTS online test.
Okay, so
there you go.
Any more questions?
Thank you so much.
None? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I think that's it, BFF. So thank you very much for another fun-filled and informative lecture. So we are looking forward for your next topic. So ayun na. So thank you everyone for attending this proper time. Yeah, thank you Segovia Steph. Yes, you're correct. Proper time management. Okay, thank you BFF. Thank you Miss Michelle. Thank you IFNG and Niner. See you on our next lecture po. Bye. Good night.
Bye. Good night.
Night.
Bye.